Hi, my name is Jeannie Hopkins, and I am a department chair and associate professor at Tidewater Community College in Portsmouth, Virginia. I'm making this video because I wanted to share a really special story with you. It's a story that I call Spencer's Story. It's a tale of the importance and the impact of early intervention. So join me as we take a little walk through his life from the time I met him until today. So I met Spencer in 2009. I was teaching preschool at Chesterburg Academy in Wilmington, North Carolina. He began my class in 2009, and he was just a really all around awesome, unique child. However, I quickly noticed some atypical red flags, such as delayed social language development. He was easily upset by pretty minor things. He had a lot of unexpected reactions to different sounds and tastes and sights, touches and smells. For instance, we took a field trip once to the reptile museum downtown, and as soon as he walked in, he was overwhelmed, and he would cover his ears and just spin in circles saying, "I want to go home, I want to go home." He was very, very easily impacted by sensory input. He had difficulty understanding other people's emotions. He also focused a lot. He actually became obsessed in random interest in objects. For instance, he loved to draw the same thing over and over. So on any given day when this child was 3 years old, I would have a stack of about 45 pieces of paper with the Cartoon Network icon drawn on it. So remember that, because that's going to come into play several years later, his love for drawing and art and cartoons. So, all of this being said, as a professional educator, I did assessments on every child in my class every year in December and in May. My assessments were based on the learning standards in North Carolina, the foundations, and they covered all the different domains. And so, by being aware of these learning standards and by doing these observations and assessments, I could show the parents exactly where their child was in development, and it also provided me concrete observation and anecdotes to say, here's some developmental concerns. Now, obviously, because I am not specialized in special education, as a teacher, I do not have the authority to say, "Hey, I think your kid's autistic." So, of course, that wasn't the case, but I was able to say, here are some observations I made, here's how they align with typical learning standards, and I'm a little concerned. So at that point, I asked her, I made a recommendation to his mother about getting a assessment done from some outside sources to see if we can dig further into these concerns. And I remember sitting at the table across from her, and she just cried. She was just so distraught. And I remember her telling me, my husband and I have always thought something was a little off, but I guess we never really um, knew what to do about it, or maybe we just didn't even want to admit it. But although this is hard, I'm really thankful that you've brought this up and that you know who to contact to help us take the next step with this. So, in that year, as he was a 3-year-old, he was observed, assessed, and he was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. He was high functioning, and because of that, we were able to get services to help him. Some ABA, which is applied behavioral analysis. He got speech therapy and things like that, and he just really took off as a 3 and 4-year-old. Now, what's really cool is I always had really, really intimate, special relationships. I was very close with all my kids' parents because family engagement is so important. As you guys know, these early years are the most important. The brain develops 90% within the first 5 years. So it was really important to me to communicate all of my knowledge and expertise in early childhood to the families. So because I was so close to the families, this mom took it upon herself to send me regular updates on how he was doing as he grew older. So I'm going to share a couple of those with you. Okay. So keep in mind, Spencer was 3 years old when I met him. He was also 3 years old when he was diagnosed with autism. Okay. The first update comes at age 7 in 2013. Mom writes me and shares Spencer's third grade report card, and it reads, Spencer is an enthusiastic learner. He arrives at school each day with a smile, ready to learn. He makes good choices in all parts of the school day. Spencer is a joy to have in my class, and he makes me laugh daily. We will continue to work on reading, comprehension, and handwriting. I can hardly wait to see him impress me during the next quarter. His mom goes on to write, keep marching on for our cause, Jeannie. Awareness is key. She goes on to say, I cried when I read the teacher's note. He has come such a long way. It's in part due to you being such a wonderful preschool teacher. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Early intervention and proactive teachers and parents are the key to overcoming as much as autism throws in our path. I thank God each day for having people like you put in my path. We wouldn't be at this stage without you. As I told my parents though you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. None of this would have been possible if Spencer didn't want it as much as we do. He wants to learn, thankfully. Have a great weekend. Okay. So the very next year, I get another email. He's now age 8, and this is 2014. Her note reads, Hey, Miss Jeannie. He was discharged from speech therapy in February. When tested, his grammar level was at a 19-year-old level. So think about this, you guys. When he was 3 years old, he had severely delayed language skills. He did not speak much. We used a lot of American Sign Language. And now at age 8, 5 years later, this child is not only out of speech therapy, but he is way ahead of his grade level when it comes to his language skills. She says, this all falls directly on you for your insight and concern when Spencer was a little person. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you did back then to make sure Spencer's needs were met when Lee and I did not realize that there was an issue. Without your experience, knowledge, and understanding, Spencer would not have come as far as he had, and we are so very grateful to you. Even now, we still talk about what a wonderful preschool teacher you were. Now go out and have a great day knowing that you made a huge difference in a child's life. We love and miss you so much. Age 12, 7th grade. Spencer is in 7th grade now, and he's almost as tall as me. He's going to Myrtle Grove Middle School to follow the program started in elementary school. He's got a math teacher this year who's really engaging him, and he's finally understanding the concepts. Age 14, 9th grade. This year, which is the year 2020. Spencer is now an age-appropriate, snarky 14-year-old. He's a freshman at Ashley High School. He's participating in both special needs and general ed classes with an IEP and no one-on-one aid. He took an art class. Remember, I told you he liked to draw when he was 3. He took an art class for a semester and was actually invited by the art teacher to join an after-school art club where he now does self-directed art projects with his general ed peers. This semester, he's taking an Adobe Art graphics class that he's doing very well in. It all goes back to when he used to draw those Cartoon Network pictures for us so much. His caseworker and I have decided that at some point he needs to take a general ed geometry class, but he will excel even if algebra isn't his thing. So that's just a little glimpse at a child with special needs life and how he's grown and changed so much over the years from age 3 to age 14. So here's the bottom line, guys. As early childhood educators, as you become pre-service teachers and get into the field of education, it is imperative that you know typical development and learning standards. You've got to know those foundations and standard course of study. If you're in North Carolina, if you're in Virginia, it's important to know the Masters of Child Development and SOLs. It's also important to have those resources to share with parents. If you have suspicions that child may have special needs, you need to have resources that you can reach out to. Speech therapists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, ABA therapists. You need to have people you can reach out to that you can refer these parents to take the next step that you can no longer handle. Of course, unless you have a special ed background. And finally, it is so important for you to know how to speak to these parents on such a sensitive subject. It's important that you help them understand that early intervention is the key, that if you catch it early, you can make these huge impacts that I just read to you. As educators, you impact children for the rest of your lives, for the rest of their lives. Your job is so important. So consider yourself an honor as an educator and do the best you can to use your experience, your knowledge, and your skills to rally for these children with special needs. Thank you.